Hello class. Today we're going to be talking about Ivan Pavlov. He is the father of behavioral and social learning. During this presentation, you're going to learn who Ivan Pavlov actually is. How did Pavlov become interested in social and learning behaviors? How Pavlov came up with the idea of behavioral learning? Who Pavlov's dog is, and how Pavlov's theories affect us as individuals. Ivan Pavlov was born on September 14, 1849 in Ryazan, Russia. His father was a local priest, and like most children in that area, Ivan attended the church school. After reading the works of Charles Darwin and I.M. Sechenov, he abandoned his work in theology to study science. He goes to the University of St. Petersburg in Russia and becomes a man of science. Once he's there, he starts his career into the natural science program. Physiology soon became Pavlov's favorite subject. He received his degree from St. Petersburg in Candidate of Natural Sciences. He studied at the Academy of Medical Surgery, where he became the director of the physiology laboratory. He then wrote his doctorate, or his thesis, on the centrifugal nerves of the heart. When he wrote his doctorate, he then won the Nobel Prize for his doctorate work in 1904. After that, he was elected the academician of the Russian Academy of Science in 1907. He received honorary doctorate from Cambridge in 1912. He was awarded the Order of the Legion Honor in 1915. Ivan Pavlov lived until February 27, 1936. Pavlov's main areas of research while he was in college, he started on the digestive process. He was trying to figure out the correlation between the nervous system and the autonomic functions of the body. During his studies, he used dogs and the relationship between salivation and digestion. While he was using the dogs, he would apply a stimuli to the dogs before he would give them their food. He would use stimuli such as sound, where we got ringing the bell from, a visual, using himself as walking into where the dogs were fed, and a tactile. He would go in and actually physically touch the dogs and get them with their bowls ready before they ate. He found that the dogs would actually start salivating with just the stimuli and not the food. Here we have a picture of Pavlov and one of his dogs. A little known fact is he actually had many dogs during his experiments, not just a single dog. Here's a diagram to help explain Pavlov's training even a little bit better. In the top left corner, we have before conditioning, where he gives the food to the dog before any stimuli is ever presented to the dog. In the top right corner, before conditioning with a neutral stimulus. He would ring the bell, walk into the cage, or actually pet the dogs before he would give the dogs their food. And there was no salivation in the first two steps. During conditioning, where he would ring the bell, touch the dog, or walk into their cage, he would place the food in front of the dog at the same time, creating salivation. And on the bottom right, which is after conditioning, the bell, him, or the actual physical touching of the dog, they would actually start salivating before the food was ever brought in. Behavioral and social learning is basically how the dogs reacted after they heard the bell and when they did not receive any food. That's just how it's called conditioning reflex. What are some conditioning reflexes that we have? Go ahead and take some time. I'll give you about 20-30 seconds, and I want you guys to make a list of all the conditioned reflexes that we have in our lives right now. Okay, I made up a short list of my own that I'm going to share with you right now. One of the biggest ones that I could come up with was fear. We don't have fear in our lives at a childhood level. Our parents instill a fear in us, which is a learned or a social behavior. If a child sees a snake on the ground or a bug or anything like that, the child's going to go over to the bug or the snake because he's interested in it. He has no fear of the snake or bug. Now, when his mom comes out and tells him that bug is disgusting or the snake is dangerous, the child then learns off of a behavior from the parent in a social aspect. The next one, being on time. At a young age, we don't really understand the process of being on time, but as we get older, we have to be on time to everywhere we go. That's just part of our lives. It is a social behavior that we learn. Following simple directions in a classroom setting, life, anything really, you have to follow those directions or there are a consequence to be had. You can train people on a social or a behavioral standpoint to not have or to be on time. Listening to superiors, same concept. If you do not listen to your superior or your boss, there's going to be some form of consequence, whether negative or positive. If it is a negative positive or a negative consequence, I think the learner learns a lasting impression. If it's a positive, they still can learn from it, but the positives don't last as long as the negatives. Most behavior and social learnings, like I said, is done at a young age. Parents, grandparents, friends, other family usually provide the most conditioned reflexes we develop in our childhood. Some are learned over our lives. We can learn them from our bosses, police officers, professors in college, and our friends as we grow up through life. All of these individuals played a large influence on our social behavior. One of the biggest influences for the modern age is probably the media. You have your Jersey Shore, all the shows on MTV, and things of that nature, where it's now became a behavioral on the television and they're not getting as much in home or from an actual immediate social interaction. They're seeing things on TV and they're taking them as right or wrong, and they are learning from those behaviors, which are they right? Are they wrong? It's really an opinion of that nature. But the fact that they're using the media as one of their huge influences in this time is actually kind of scary. The parents need to be involved and the family needs to be involved. The teachers need to be more involved than the actual media that is teaching the children of today's times. Here are just some questions that I have for you just to think on as we finish up. Reflect on your own life and put down as many social and behavioral influences as you can. How many do you have? Do you still have the same conditioned reflexes today as you did as a child? If not, what has changed and why do you think so? Do you think social and behavioral learning is important? Why or why not? In review, Ivan Pavlov was a Russian scientist who earned his awards in many areas of science, but is mainly acknowledged for his behavioral theories. Pavlov is also known for his experimental work done on dogs. The behavioral and social theories supported the idea that some behaviors are learned by the individual, whereas some behaviors are innate or instinctive. There are various types of influences that affect each person, whether they are social or physical behaviors.